yeah, and then you got back home, and then at some point you started uploading your own YouTube videos.
Mhm. Yeah.
And what you were talking about was kind of the the bad side or the dark side of personal development. So to me, it kind of seemed like you had gone extremely deep into this personal development market and worked in it and been in it for like 24 hours a day, uh, all that stuff. And then you
Mhm.
suddenly had a change of heart, or you realized something about yourself or how this was affecting you, and you started putting out some, I think, really great content about some of the things that people might um, misinterpret or like get wrong when they listen a
Mhm.
lot to like online coaches or motivational speakers and stuff like that. Is that a correct assessment of what
I think it
happened during
is.
that period?
Yeah, I think it is. I remember my first video was about that for sure. Like, stop trying to get better.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was definitely a result of me being there because the coach himself, he was phenomenal in so many ways.
Yeah.
Um, and at the same time, I would argue also perhaps doing some things for the wrong reason. And I saw that some guys that came there, um, I guess I saw myself in those guys, but they would get good
Mm.
results, but there was still so much pain inside of them. And at the same time, I noticed, I guess, the same pain inside of myself.
Mm.
And I noticed also how many coaches were sort of selling on fear, and
Yeah.
and I resented that quite a bit um, because of the shame and guilt I would feel in myself from watching their content and from listening to them, because that fear sort of got in me, and then I was like, oh shit, am I doing everything wrong? Am I doing this wrong? Should I feel bad for doing this or not doing that?
Mm.
And it sort of just fed into my old self-critic and all the shame and guilt that I already perhaps carried a little bit inside of me. So that was, I guess, the motivation from it. I'm very curious about your opinion actually, because I remember one of the events that caused me to feel this way was because I know how much you like Tony Robbins and how much you
Hmm.
benefited, like greatly benefited from reading his book. Because I remember we
Yeah.
talked about it. Because I went to his seminar, and I just remember the first day I came home like crying with tears running down my cheeks. Just and I was talking with the coach I was working for, and he told me like what's going on, and I said to him, I just feel like there's so much shit I have to fix inside of myself. There's no way I can ever get done with this work, you know. I
Yeah.
was just so overwhelmed with all this stuff I had to change and do better and all of this and that.
Yeah.
And it was just and I was just like, there, I'm so far from the goal that this is horrible. um and that was sort of the one of the things that I guess I disagreed with the way that he was doing it on, like Tony Robbins and the event
Yeah.
itself. That for me, at least for my personality and who I am, was not as beneficial. um but I guess I always knew that there's multiple sides to it, and I and I'm curious to hear your opinion, and also like all the benefits that you had that I heard from you was
Mm.
incredible, to say the least.
Yeah, I really did benefit a lot. And but I always thought after like he started my journey into personal development. It was Tony
Mhm.
Robbins. I didn't even know that personal development was a thing at that time. I
Mhm.
was just presented with a book from someone, and she said like you should really read this because you're making a lot of bad decisions in your life, but you're not like you're a great guy, but this book will help you. And so I
Wow.
thought
Okay.
okay,
Was it
I'm.
someone close to you that said that, or was it
It
like
was a
a?
colleague. I was working at a hotel,
Ah.
and I was kind of talking about like I've always been ambitious, and I was always like when we were working together, I was talking about like, oh, I want to do this in the future, and I want to have my own hotel. I remember telling her, because I was working in like the reception of a hotel, right? And I was just like, I want to have my own hotel, and I want to make a lot of money. And but at that time, I was like smoking weed every day, and like when I went home from work, I did nothing but just like smoke weed and watch movies and like play video games and stuff like that. And so I talked to her a little bit about that, and she tried to be like, do you maybe think that that's a dumb way to live if you want to have your own hotel someday? And then at one point, she just gave me the book and was just like, read this and maybe it will help. And so I started reading it, and I just started immediately applying everything that he said I should do in the book. And it really helped me. And I actually got fired not that long after that from the hotel. But that was because of cut downs. So the book couldn't help me with that. But it really helped me actually with coping with being fired. And I immediately went out. I put up like flyers in the supermarket that I could do whatever, like cut people's grass or like do handiwork at home for like 150 kroners an hour, I think I took for it, and people could just call me up. And so I was like getting into that whole mindset of like, you need to do something, you need to put in action, and good stuff will happen and stuff like that, and turn it around to something positive and all of that kind of stuff. And it really helped me, and it helped me throughout my, I got 2 different diplomas at that time. So I read a lot, was a lot in school for 2 years. I did normal school in the day and then evening school as well. And then I just applied everything that Tony Robbins told me to do, and everything worked out really great. So I was like, after that, I worshipped him and was like, everything that man says is the truth. And and he's amazing, because I just experienced that it worked. But afterwards, I was introduced to a lot of other like personal development gurus, and I saw some of his. I saw the documentary, for example, on Netflix about him.
I'm Not Your Guru.
Yeah. And I actually didn't really like the way that he does his shows, because it really reminded me of like some preacher, you see these kind of like Baptist church events where preachers are like healing people on stage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it really reminded me of that. And then I also at that point found out that he was seriously religious. And not that that's any problem, but that just those 2 things together just gave me this vibe of like this like crooked online preacher. And I at that point I was like, I'm not saying that he is that. I'm just saying that at that point I remember thinking, I'm really happy that I read his book before I was presented with this, because I had a totally different view of him from just reading the book than to watch all of that stuff. And
it's interesting.
Yeah. But I had kind of the same experience as you, that later, after I got my diplomas and I started working and we started the company and everything, I was facing some different challenges than I had before. And so my go-to solution was just, I need to read some self-help books, right? So I would just consume books at a pace that I couldn't handle. Like I didn't apply 90% of what I read. And so I had all this knowledge in my head. That was kind of a good thing, I think, because I was reading about personal finance and like psychology and how to influence people and all of these different things. And the knowledge was there in my head, and I could kind of use it sometimes when I remembered it. But also I got the kind of the same feeling that you got, that I have all of this stuff that I should do, because all of these books say that I should do this, and I'm just not doing 90% of it. And that really stresses me out, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing what I should be doing. ever. Like I can't live up to all of this advice that I have listened to. I can't follow all of it. And so it just
like there's this
makes me feel
infinite to do.
bad. Yeah. Yeah. So at some point I kind of realized that I needed to kind of put that aside for some time and just try and find my own solutions to things. And yeah, so I had kind of the same experience as you, that at some point it becomes overwhelming, all of these things that you are told that you should do, that you're just not doing because you don't have time and you can't do everything at the same time, right?